Okay, so like imagine building with Legos. Each brick is super simple, right? But you combine a bunch and you can make like anything, spaceships, castles, whatever.
Exactly. It's the same with cells. They're the building blocks of all living things.
That's what we're diving deep into today. Cells, what they are, how they work, why they matter to, well, you.
We'll uncover some pretty cool stuff too.
Right. Like, did you know cells have suicide bags?
Hmm.
They're for recycling, but still, suicide bags.
And plant cells can like explode if they get too much water at once. But first, a little history.
Huh.
Back in the 1600s, there was this scientist, Robert Hooke.
Okay, 1600s, got it.
He was looking at cork under a microscope, like a wine bottle cork. He saw all these tiny compartments, like little rooms,
Huh.
and he called them cells,
So basically, modern biology started with someone looking at a cork.
pretty much. And what Hooke saw was super important. Every living thing, tiniest bacteria to the biggest animal, is made of cells.
It's like you can have a small onion, right?
Yeah.
Or a giant one. But both are made of the same stuff, just more of it in the big one.
Exactly. That's the difference between unicellular and multicellular organisms. Unicellular, one cell, IS, the whole organism.
Like it does everything all by itself.
Yep. Think bacteria, amoebas, things like that. Multicellular, that's you, me, plants, animals. Lots of cells working together.
Okay, this is going to sound weird, but it just hit me. Every multicellular thing starts as just one cell.
Right.
We come from something tiny and, well, we get complicated.
It is pretty amazing. Cell division and differentiation, that's how it happens. But let's look inside a cell first.
Okay, yeah. Most cells have three main parts, right? Plasma membrane, nucleus, cytoplasm.
You got it. Imagine a city. Plasma membrane is the walls controlling what goes in and out. Nucleus is like City Hall. All the important plans are there.
I like that.
And cytoplasm is everything else inside. People, buildings, you name it.
Okay, so the plasma membrane, that's our first stop.
Right. Super important because it regulates the cell's environment. It's selectively permeable, meaning it lets some stuff in, keeps other stuff out.
How does it decide? Is there like a tiny guard checking ID cards at the cell's door?
Not quite. One way things move is diffusion. It's about concentration. Stuff moves from high concentration to low, trying to spread out evenly.
Like perfume, right. You open the bottle, the smell spreads until the whole room smells the same.
Exactly. So in a cell, carbon dioxide, that's a waste, it diffuses OUT because there's more of it inside. Oxygen, the cell needs that. It diffuses IN because there's more outside.
So it's all about balance, basically.
Yeah. Now there's a specific kind of diffusion. It's called osmosis. This is all about water movement.
Osmosis. Yeah, like raisins getting plump in water or why plants wilt when they don't get enough.
Perfect example. So there are three scenarios. You put a cell in a hypotonic solution, meaning more water outside the cell. Water rushes ion, the cell swells.
Okay, that makes sense. The water's trying to even things out, right?
Exactly. Hypertonic solution, that's less water outside. Water leaves the cell, it shrinks.
So the opposite happens, basically.
Yep. Then there's isotonic. Same water concentration inside and out, no net movement. Cell's happy.
Hypotonic. Swell, hypertonic. Shrink, isotonic. Stable. Got it.
And it's not just theory. This matters in medicine, too. Like, IV fluids have got to be isotonic with our blood. Otherwise, bad things happen.
Wow, so osmosis can literally be life or death. I remember reading about this cool experiment with an egg.
Yeah.
You soak it in vinegar to get rid of the shell, right?
Yes.
Then you put it in water, it swells up. Osmosis. You can even put it in corn syrup and it shrivels.
Exactly. Classic demo. But plant cells are different. They have that cell wall.
Right, right. That's why my plants don't explode when I water them, I guess. So what happens?
It's mostly cellulose, strong stuff, gives plants their structure, but they still experience osmosis.
Oh.
If a plant cell loses too much water, the membrane shrinks away from the cell wall. It's called plasmolysis.
So the wall stays put, but the inside shrivels.
Right. There's an experiment for this, too. You take a rua leaf, add salt solution.
Salt. Why salt?
It's hypertonic, remember? Water rushes out. You can actually watch the membranes shrink.
Okay, that's super cool. So much going on that we never even see. Okay, we did the membrane, the city wall. Now what about the nucleus, the city hall?
Ah, the nucleus. This is where the DNA is. The cell's blueprint. Controls everything.
So it's like the mayor's office, making sure everything runs right. But what is DNA? Like, really?
It's deoxyribonucleic acid. Long molecule, contains all the instructions for building and running the cell.
So DNA is the instruction manual.
Yeah, and the nucleus is like the contractor following those instructions.
Got it.
Now, within the DNA, instructions are organized into genes. Each gene codes for a specific trait or function.
So like one gene for eye color, one for how we break down sugar.
Exactly. And these genes are on chromosomes. You can see those under a microscope when the cell divides, little rod-shaped things.
Okay, so we've got instructions organized into genes, which are on chromosomes. Lots of layers.
Right. But not all cells have a clear nucleus. That's important to remember.
Wait, really? I thought they all did.
Eukaryotic cells, like in plants and animals, do. They have a nucleus with a membrane around it.
Okay.
But prokaryotic cells, those are bacteria mostly. They don't. Their DNA is just in an area called the nucleoid, no membrane.
So it's like organized cells have a filing cabinet, basic cells just have paper scattered around.
Pretty much. Prokaryotes are simpler, smaller. That's one of the big differences.
Okay, so fancy cells, nucleus, basic cells, DNA, just hanging out. Got it. Now, cytoplasm, what's up with all that space?
It's jelly-like. Fills the cell, surrounds all the other parts. Lots of stuff happens there, making proteins, transporting things. Busy place.
So like the cytoplasm is where the work gets done.
Yeah, you could say that. And it's filled with organelles, each doing a specific job, like little organs within the cell. But we'll get into those next time. What are your thoughts so far? Anything surprise you?
Honestly, it's just like the level of organization in something so small, it's like a whole city, but microscopic. It's amazing.
It is pretty incredible. And this is just the beginning. There's so much more to explore. So ready to explore those organelles? It's like meeting the citizens of the cell city.
Let's do it. What are we starting with?
Endoplasmic reticulum, ER for short. Imagine a network of tunnels, factories, all connected.
Okay, so it's like the transportation system, A&D, the manufacturing center, all in one.
Exactly. There are two kinds, rough ER and smooth ER.
Rough and smooth, huh?
Rough ER, it's got ribosomes on it. That's why it looks rough under a microscope.
Ribosomes, those make the proteins, right?
Yep. They're the construction workers putting proteins together based on the DNA instructions. Rough ER is where they work.
So like the rough ER is the protein factory.
You got it. Smooth ER, no ribosomes. It does other stuff like making fats, detoxifying things, storing calcium.
So smooth ER is more like a multi-purpose workshop.
Perfect analogy. Now, all these proteins and fats, they need to be sorted, packaged, shipped. That's where the Golgi apparatus comes in.
Ah, yeah. Those are like stacks of pancakes, right? I remember those diagrams.
That's them. But very organized pancakes. It's like the post office of the cell. Receives stuff from the ER, modifies it, packages it, sends it out.
So each molecule has its own little package and address label.
Pretty much. Keeps things running smoothly.
This is a lot of activity for something we can't even see. Okay, so cells make stuff, but there's got to be waste too, right? Like what happens to the garbage?
You're thinking like a scientist now. Yep, there's waste, and that's where lysosomes come in.
Lysosomes, those are the, what was it, suicide bags?
Yep. Little sacks full of enzymes. They break down old cell parts, debris, even bacteria that get in.
So like the recycling center and the garbage disposal.
Exactly. They're called suicide bags because sometimes they rupture, release those enzymes inside the cell.
And that's bad, right?
For the cell, yeah. It basically self-destructs.
Wow, dramatic. So lysosomes clean up, but they can also take the cell out if things go wrong. What else is in our city tour?
Let's talk energy. Mitochondria, the powerhouses of the cell.
Oh yeah, mitochondria, they make ATP, right? The energy currency.
You got it. That's their job, producing most of the cell's ATP.
So like the power plant, keeping the lights on and everything.
Exactly. They have this double membrane, the inner one's all folded up, lots of surface area.
More surface area, more space to do stuff, right?
Yep. That's where cellular respiration happens, breaking down glucose, using oxygen to make ATP. That's why we breathe, by the way.
To give our cells the oxygen they need to make energy. It all connects, huh? But why the double membrane? Just for more space.
That's part of it, but it also creates a special compartment inside, needed for ATP production, like a dedicated room in the power plant.
Cells are so organized. Oh, I remember mitochondria have their own DNA, right? Separate from the nucleus?
Yeah, right. They do. It's a little circular molecule. Has genes needed for mitochondria to function?
Wait, so they have their own instructions?
Right.
Why, if the nucleus already has everything?
Good question. It's a bit of a mystery, but scientists think mitochondria, way back, they were their own bacteria.
Like independent little organisms.
Right. They got absorbed by early cells billions of years ago, evolved to live together, a symbiotic relationship.
So the mitochondria in US are like descendants of ancient bacteria. That is so cool.
It is. And it affects genetics, too. Mitochondrial DNA is passed down from the mother only. Can tell us about ancestry, even some diseases.
Wow, so we have TOEO sets of DNA instructions in each cell. Okay, my mind is blown. We did ER, Golgi, lysosomes, mitochondria. What's next?
Well, we've covered the basics that are in most cells, but plants have some unique stuff, like chloroplasts.
Chloroplasts, those are the green guys, right? Photosynthesis?
Exactly. They're like solar panels capturing light energy, turning it into glucose.
Food factories, basically. And they're green because of chlorophyll, yeah.
Yep, that's the pigment that absorbs light. Chloroplasts have these stacks of membranes inside called thylakoids. That's where the chlorophyll is.
So thylakoids are like the individual little solar panels capturing sunlight, making energy.
Exactly. And guess what? Chloroplasts, like mitochondria, they have their own DNA and ribosomes too.
Are we sensing a pattern here? Ancient bacteria becoming part of the cell.
Seems like it. Now, one more important thing in plant cells, vacuoles. Animal cells have them, but plant cells have a big one, usually in the center.
Oh yeah, I remember those from the diagrams. Giant storage bubbles, what's in them?
All sorts of stuff, water, nutrients, pigments, sometimes even waste. And they help the plant stay firm. It's called turgor pressure.
So when a plant wilts, it's like the vacuole's lost water. It's deflated, you water it, fills back up, plant stands tall again.
Precisely. Simple but effective.
Cool. We talked a lot about plants. Do animal cells have anything unique, or mostly it's just those shared organelles?
No major organelles that only animals have. But there are differences. Animal cells, no cell wall. Makes them more flexible.
Makes sense, we gotta move around, plants don't.
Right. And animals, we eat for energy. Plants, they photosynthesize. But despite the differences, there are tons of similarities.
Like the basic design of a cell, membrane, nucleus, cytoplasm, the main organelles, that's pretty much universal, right?
Exactly. Shows how all life is connected.
That's pretty deep. Okay, so we've seen what cells are made of, how they do their jobs. But how do they make more cells?
Cell division. That's next. Growth, repair, reproduction, it all comes down to that. Mitosis, meiosis, the two main types. But before we jump in, what's stuck with you so far? What's been the most interesting?
It's hard to pick just one thing, but honestly, just the sheer complexity, but all working together so perfectly. It's like a whole tiny world functioning right there inside us.
It is amazing. And to think, all this started from simple, single-celled organisms billions of years ago. The cell, it's truly a microcosm of life itself. Okay, so cell division. Ready to see how these tiny cities make more of themselves?
Hit me with it. I think I'm ready after all those organelles.
First up, mitosis. This is for growth and repair. One cell divides, becomes two identical daughter cells, each one with a full set of chromosomes.
Okay, so it's like a perfect copy-paste. New cells have all the instructions they need.
Exactly. Think about it. You start as one cell, you become trillions. Or you get a cut, your skin heals. That's mitosis at work.
So it's like constant renewal. Wow. Okay, but what about meiosis? We kind of skimmed over that before.
Right, meiosis. This is all about sexual reproduction. Happens in your reproductive organs, makes gametes. That's sperm and egg cells.
Okay, so that's how we pass on our genes to kids.
Yep. But here's the difference. In meiosis, those daughter cells, they only get half the number of chromosomes.
Hold on, half. Wouldn't that mess things up? Like the baby's missing instructions?
It's actually super clever. So when sperm and egg combine, they each bring half, so the baby ends up with the right number.
So it's like meiosis keeps things balanced over generations.
Exactly. If each gamete had a full set, the baby would have double the chromosomes, and that'd be, well, not good.
Nature's got it figured out, huh? Okay, so big picture time. We started with what, cork?
Robert Hooke and his little rooms, yeah.
From there, we zoomed in, saw membranes, a nucleus, cytoplasm, all these crazy organelles doing their jobs.
Each one essential for the cell to survive.
And then zoom back OUT, cells making more cells so we can grow, heal, even make more humans. It's kind of mind-boggling.
It is. And the thing is, even with all we know, there's still so much to learn about cells.
Yeah, like how do they all talk to each other? I mean, we're trillions of cells. It can't just be chaos in there, right?
That's cell signaling. Whole other topic, super fascinating. They use chemicals, even physical contact.
Okay, so it's like a whole communication network, but microscopic.
Exactly. Keeps everything coordinated. And for anyone listening who wants to see this stuff for themselves, those experiments we mentioned, the egg, the leaf.
Oh yeah, people can do those at home.
Absolutely. Seeing it firsthand makes a difference.
Okay, so wrapping up. Cells, they're tiny, but they're also, what, the foundation of all life.
That's it. Everything about us, how we look, act, even think, it all starts with cells.
And this whole process, billions of years in the making. From single cells to, well, us. Pretty amazing.
And who knows what else we'll discover about them in the future. There's always more to explore.
That's the best part. So to everyone listening, thanks for joining us on this deep dive. Keep being curious, keep asking questions, and never stop being amazed by the world of cells.